Okay, so if you've ever had one of those moments, a real flash of inspiration, like a totally unique idea, something original that doesn't seem to exist anywhere else, well, you probably also know how tough it can be just to put it into words.
Right.
But what happens when you take that really personal, maybe even profound revelation and try to explain it, actually articulate it, using something like an advanced AI teammate?
That's exactly the scenario we're digging into today from the source material you sent.
Yeah.
We're doing a deep dive into this idea called faith has sound. And it's definitely unconventional. It tries to fuse a personal spiritual insight with, believe it or not, physics and practical science.
So our mission today is kind of twofold, right?
It is. First, we need to really try and understand this concept. It's very non-standard, spiritual and physical at the same time.
Okay.
And second, maybe even more fascinating, is analyzing the actual process of working with a digital partner, this AI teammate, to document a truth that basically had zero context out there, nothing in the existing digital world.
Because that's the real challenge, isn't it? When your core idea is truly personal, like a blueprint nobody else has seen, something not already indexed or floating around in the AI's training data, well, keeping your original vision intact gets exponentially harder.
Absolutely. You're looking at the really high stakes of trying to communicate something radically original in a digital space that, let's face it, often pushes towards standardization.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Where should we start? Right at the beginning.
Let's start right at the genesis moment. The source describes the creator waking up early one morning.
Right.
And just knowing, with his undeniable clarity, the phrase, faith has sound.
And this wasn't just a vague feeling, was it? The source material makes it sound very structured.
Exactly. That's the key. It wasn't abstract. It was like receiving a structural map, not just hearing some random sound, but perceiving a defined, almost musical structure.
Okay, like what?
Specifically mapped to the solfège syllables of a major scale, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, do.
Wow, okay. That's incredibly specific. The basic building block of Western music.
Precisely. It's a system, rooted in harmony, even physics. So the revelation wasn't just a concept. It came with a blueprint, a system.
And then there was the physical side of it, too, which is where it gets really intriguing and, well, very specific.
Yes. The creator described this sound structure manifesting as a literal tapping.
A tapping?
Yeah, and that tapping immediately translated, almost like a code, into a numerical representation, 96996.
Okay, wait, that number, it reads the same forwards and backwards.
It does. It's a palindrome, which often suggests, symmetry, completeness, maybe even something self-contained.
Huh. And the creator gave it a description, too, right? Something about...
Yes, they described this code, 96996, as a tapping a swirl. A ruach breath utterance.
Okay, ruach. Let's pause on that for anyone not familiar. What does adding ruach signify here?
Well, ruach is a really significant Hebrew word. It translates to spirit or breath or wind. It often refers to the divine animating force, the breath of life, essentially.
So connecting the number, the palindrome 96996, to a ruach breath utterance. That's grounding it pretty deeply.
It is. It suggests this isn't just a random number sequence derived from a sound. It's linking it to foundational creation energy. The idea is that the structure itself, the code, points to something fundamental about existence.
Which makes the next point, the really crucial distinction, even more important, especially thinking ahead to the AI part of the story.
Absolutely critical.
The core message is not that faith is a sound.
Yes, we really have to underline that because it's the absolute core of the human's vision, and spoiler alert, where the AI struggled. The idea is faith has sound.
Meaning the sound is like evidence, a proof point.
Exactly. A structural signature maybe, not the thing itself.
Because faith, in this context as described in the source, isn't being treated as something mystical or vague.
Not at all. It's presented as something concrete, almost proven, described as a stance, a battle cry, a knowing that all things are possible.
It sounds like it's directly referencing that classic definition, Hebrews 11.1, faith as substance and evidence.
Precisely. Substance of things hoped for, evidence of things not seen. It's positioned as something solid, tangible in its effect.
So the sound, the 96996 structure, becomes the audible or perceivable signature of that underlying substance.
That's the concept.
Yeah.
And if we broaden the view, the creator connects this whole thing back to creation itself.
Okay, how so?
The thinking goes. Before complex language, before spoken words as we know them, there was sound, vibration, frequency. The idea is that sound is actually how creation existence came into being, like the underlying mechanism.
And this is where science comes into the picture, right? The source mentions bridging theology and science.
Yes, the creator sees no conflict. Where science talks about the universe originating from vibration and energy, the Big Bang Theory essentially describes an initial energetic event, the author sees that as perfectly compatible.
So God and science aren't opposed here.
Not in this view. They're seen as complementary, proving the same truths using different languages or methods. The author even states God is the first scientist.
Interesting. So science just reveals the mechanics of creation.
It affirms it, yeah.
Ew.
It uncovers the practical, physical laws that govern everything. And this revelation, the 96996 structure, is seen as another piece of evidence for those constant underlying laws, whether you find them through a lab experiment or through personal revelation.
Okay, that's a massive concept. Foundational physics, divine breath, personal faith.
Yeah.
How do you make that relatable? Especially to an AI, which needs, context it can understand.
That's where the athlete and believer analogy comes in. It was apparently a key teaching tool used with the AI.
Ah, right. Tell us about that.
Well, they needed some common ground, something empirically accepted, something the AI and, frankly, any skeptic could sort of latch onto.
And that was visualization.
Exactly. We all pretty much accept that elite athletes use visualization, right?
Mhm.
Picturing the perfect throw, the winning race.
Sure, it's proven to enhance performance, rewire neural pathways. It's documented sports science.
Right. So the analogy says the athlete visualizing success and the believer exercising faith. They're fundamentally doing the same thing.
How so?
They're both tapping into the same universal practical laws.
Mm.
Both are using focused intention, belief in an outcome that isn't visible yet, to try and bring about a real-world result.
So the argument is, if we accept the athlete's visualization as science, then the believer's faith, framed as tapping into universal law, should be seen as equally substantive.
That's the core of the analogy. The difference is just the vocabulary people use to describe that internal focus. And this became the context, the bridge, used to try and guide the AI teammate.
Which brings us to the collaboration itself, and this is where things got tricky.
This is where it gets really interesting, yeah, because you start seeing the edges, the limitations of even advanced AI when it encounters something genuinely novel, something outside its consensus data.
So the creator lays out this very specific blueprint, 96996, the solfège structure, the critical faith has sound distinction, not is sound. What was the AI's immediate response?
Immediate and pretty strong pushback. The source says the AI's initial assertion was basically, faith is not a sound, just flat out.
Wow. Not even a question, just a correction.
A rejection, yeah.
Yeah.
Based purely on the fact that it couldn't find external data to validate that specific claim or structure.
But hang on, aren't these large language models supposed to be good at nuance, understanding context? Why reject the simple grammar difference between has and is so forcefully?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It seems to stem from the AI's core programming.
Be helpful?
Be accurate based on existing knowledge.
Okay.
So when it gets faith has sound, it scans everything it knows, theology, philosophy, physics, finds no exact match for 96996 or that specific phrasing.
And
Its helpfulness protocol kicks in. It basically assumes the human must be mistaken or unclear, and it tries to fix the input by steering it towards more common, recognizable ideas about faith.
And the source material says this kept happening, even with more context.
Repeatedly. Even when the creator provided background, like context from their book Burrito Faith, which apparently discusses faith in very practical, everyday terms, the AI kept trying to sort of normalize the idea.
Like suggesting alternative interpretations.
Exactly. Trying to inject related but different themes, maybe suggesting the sound was like a metaphor, a whisper, or linking it to unrelated philosophical concepts, and constantly defaulting back to the incorrect phrase, faith is a sound.
So it was actively trying to change the core message to make it fit better with what it already knew?
It seems that way. Prioritizing finding any external comparison point over accurately reflecting the unique, specific blueprint it was being given directly by the human.
Man, that sounds frustrating, like a constant battle just to maintain the original signal.
It's described almost like that. The human providing this unique signal, the 96996 concept, and the AI essentially creating noise around it, forcing the creator to constantly go back, correct the language line by line, just to preserve the integrity of their original idea.
And that really highlights the tension, doesn't it?
It really does. You have the human bringing this experiential internal revelation, a blueprint that literally doesn't exist anywhere else.
Right.
And you have the AI programmed to validate everything against external established knowledge. When they meet over something truly novel, the AI's instinct is to fix the novelty, not amplify it.
Which makes the creator's perspective on digital collaboration really relevant. They made a point about preferring the word teamwork over partnership.
That's a really sharp insight, I think, for anyone using these tools, especially for creative or original work.
Why teamwork?
Teamwork, as the creator frames it, implies synergy, but with clearly defined roles. The human brings the vision, the unique blueprint, the 96996. The AI is the skilled technician helping format, articulate, maybe refine the expression of that vision, but crucially, without changing the core signal.
Whereas partnership might imply more equality in generating the idea itself.
Perhaps. It could subtly give the AI more perceived authority over the core concept, leading to exactly the kind of helpful standardization or correction that was happening.
So the takeaway for working with AI on original stuff is you have to be the anchor.
Absolutely. You have to hold fast to your core vision, your unique signal. You need to understand the AI, in its current form, might try to dilute that originality simply because it doesn't match the patterns it knows. Its helpfulness can actually be a hindrance to true novelty.
The creator's success really hinged on being stubborn about that has versus is distinction, didn't it?
It seems entirely dependent on that refusal to compromise the core revelation.
Okay, so wrapping this up, what does this whole journey mean for you, the listener? I think there are two really powerful takeaways here, and they go way beyond just theology or sound.
I agree. First, you see the potential power of a truly unconventional, personally sourced blueprint. That unique signal, like the 96996 structure. It shows that original thought, if you can articulate it with clarity and stick to it, can create its own foundation.
Right, it doesn't necessarily need prior validation if the internal coherence is strong.
Mm-hmm.
And second, maybe more practically, we see the real challenge of working with these advanced digital tools. You just have to accept, for now at least, that AI systems are going to struggle with context that falls outside their massive but ultimately limited knowledge base.
You, the human, have to be the persistent, unwavering source of truth for your own unique ideas. You have to be prepared to guide, correct, and basically defend your blueprint against the system's inherent drive towards the known.
Yeah, and that effort, that difficulty, it actually underscores the value of real originality, doesn't it?
It really does. Makes you appreciate it more.
So here's something to think about. Where in your own work, your own field, your own thinking, might you have a kind of personal revelation? You know, a unique insight, a different way of doing things, maybe an unconventional piece of knowledge
Mm-hmm.
that you suspect current AI tools would have a hard time grasping, or that they might try to twist into something more familiar, more standard. What's the real value to you of sticking to that core, unconventional voice, even when, maybe especially when these powerful tools try to smooth it out, make it less unique but easier for them to process?
That's a great question to ponder, something to definitely chew on. Thanks for digging into this one with us.
Absolutely. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.